Nazi puns fuck off. You're listening to They Came from the Silver Screen. As always, I'm Josh, and with me is Damian. How are we doing, Damian?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm not a Nazi. I'm going fantastic.
I think we can both attest to the fact that we are not Nazis, which is good.
Feels good. Feels right.
Last week, we were doing Captain America. We found out that he's basically a Nazi now. We're doing a film that is, I would say, anti-neo-Nazi.
Absolutely.
And takes a strong stance, as it should.
That's putting it mildly, but we can get into that more in a minute.
Absolutely. Well, listeners, as we said last week, we mixed it up a little bit, changed the schedule, flipped a switch, and this week we did Jeremy Saulnier's Green Room.
Written and directed by the man himself. So this is his
third film?
Third feature after Murder Party in 2007 and then Blue Room in 2013.
So he hasn't done a lot, but man, you wouldn't know it from this film.
No, I mean, like, because he's a cinematographer as well, which I mean we can talk about in a minute. But I mean, already, like, you know, for a third feature, the eye for detail and shots and lighting and things like that on a technical side is just off the chain, and the fact that he writes all his own material as well just proves that this is a guy that is going to be going places, and we're going to be hearing about him for many years to come.
Yeah, well, I certainly hope so.
Oh, well, fingers crossed anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, odds are, someone who, you know, does an indie movie this good, 10 to 1, they'll get picked up by some studio in like 2 or 3 years' time to tackle some remake or some soulless, you know, blockbuster series or something like that. Much
in the same way that, yeah, Godzilla came out of monsters and all of that.
Gareth Edwards, you know, Colin Trevorrow, did Safety Not Guaranteed and then got Jurassic World and now Star Wars 9, which is a pretty decent,
that's a big leap.
That's a pretty big, leap in terms of your first, second and third film.
Yeah, it's...
you know, you go from an indie film about a time machine that, like, you know, doesn't quite work for less than $1 million, and now you're making statements in interviews saying that you want to shoot in space.
Go hard or go home, I guess.
I really guess that is true, which I think, you know, thankfully and quite appropriately gives us a very nice segue back into the film that we're actually meant to be discussing this week. We've kept our alternate film preamble incredibly brief this week. I think we should be proud of ourselves for that, even though technically by proxy we did still mention a Steven Spielberg movie again.
It's part of our contract.
Yeah,
it's in our rider.
Yeah, we can't really go into that detail. There's a lot of litigious stuff that you know, lawyers will get upset if we sort of, you know, spoke about it. But yeah, that's basically it. But well, look, I mean, I kind of want to like address before, you know, as a way in, I guess, just the tone of this film.
Yeah, okay.
And what it does in terms of being a horror film and a thriller film by basically for the first half hour, 40 minutes, making us forget that is what it actually is.
Yeah, this actually reminded me a lot of in the fact that it played it straight for the first half hour and didn't really didn't really give a shit that it was going to become such a audacious thriller, I would say. Because it bumps itself up real quickly when it changes.
Yeah.
But a lot like how From Dusk Till Dawn was basically it was a completely different film up until they got into the vampires.
Yeah, and a sort of a road trip, you know, crime caper.
Yeah. This was, and this was, you know, this is, you know, so premise of the film is, punk rock band is going on tour and all of that.
Very unsuccessful tour.
Yeah, well, yeah, it gets the show that they were promised gets shut down because of the relationship that the interviewer or the radio guy has with the venue. So in order to make it up for him, he gets a gig for them out with his cousin, which happens to be at a neo-Nazi clubhouse.
Yeah,
basically,
as you do.
Yeah, and it's and it starts off just a standard punk rock sort of vibe. They're traveling up the Pacific Northwest.
It could have been like, if you didn't know what the movie was about, you could have almost assumed that that's what the entire film was actually going to be about. Just almost like a band road trip movie.
But a very still
like
dark.
Almost Famous or something like that. That's just this band trying to do right and get by and survive, and you lose yourself in the relationships of the band members and everything like that, and their plight, and the search for success, and their discussions of their music. Kind of just all are beautiful little narrative baubles that take your guard off.
Well, it does seem like it is like this. Like we could have had another film purely about them, and then it flows right into this pit, and then it goes into basically an entirely different film when it goes. Because we start off like they seem very established and all of that. They get on well. They get on well together in terms of the characters interacting. The first time we see them, down in their luck, sort of very much, early punk rock sort of vibe. They're siphoning fuel in order to make ends meet, and that's how we do it. And credit where credit's due. It ties back at the end of it all as well.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. Yeah, but so they go off. They go to the neo-Nazi club, and then they witness a murder.
Mm-hmm.
And then shit starts hitting the fan real quick.
Absolutely, and we get a couple of main players, and the things I like about Saulnier's films is that all the bit players, even if they only have a couple of lines, they're cast such that you've got very well established ideas of who these people are, and they leave an imprint on you even if they only say a couple of lines. Like you've got Worm, the guy that does the girl in, and Big Justin, the bouncer, bodyguard type guy, and then you've got I forget his name, the guy that does the all of the
main
Gabe,
the guy
that runs the place, which is actually played by Macon Blair, who is old mates with Saulnier, and was actually the star of his previous film, Blue Ruin.
Oh yeah, it showed that he was kind of a favorite in that he was the most likable character in the entire film,
and he was the sort of one that actually got a bit of a redemption arc.
Yeah,
which we can come to, in a minute. But it's that kind of beautiful this is a movie that absolutely understands that it's a genre piece. But embraces that with this real gritty nuts and bolts, salt of the earth style of filming that kind of made me think of, early John Carpenter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Assault on Precinct 13, or even, early, Tarantino or things like that in terms of movies that were, sort of quite dialogue heavy, and then you just have these brief, punctuated explosions of extreme violence.
Yeah, I think this Saulnier's way of doing this, it seemed like it was a reaction to a Tarantino style film that it was, he had the little monologues and all of that. Halfway through the film, they talk. The main character, Pat, played by Anton Yelchin, is he tries to tell like the paintball story, and it gets cut off, sort of thing. Like whereas like in Tarantino world, that would have gone on. It would have been a big hero sort of story. And it's like, no, this is not that sort of film.
It is quite cool in that sense, in the way that this, it pays homage to, all these, separate film styles and, writing styles, and, gives lip service to these movies and directors, but then goes out of its way to absolutely undercut those, influences at every turn, and basically say, oh, you thought it was going to be this? Nope.
Yeah, it beautifully sets those sort of things up, and it, but it's got all those. It's got the same beats as a lot of other films, but it just takes them in a refreshing pace.
Yeah, I liked how it embraced the facts of its genre conventions without being slavish to them. It was aware of it. Case in point with the speech that Yelchin does about the paintball and everything like that, and then Imogen Poots' character basically just says, "What is this meant to be? Some sort of pep talk?"
Yeah,
and so it immediately just shatters the kind of come on, we can do it sort of hopefulness that other movies might have had at this point. Yeah. Especially considering what like just came before, which I mean the makeup and special effects department on this movie need.
Oh my god!
A fucking medal for the work that they
I felt very uncomfortable.
Yeah, the crux of this the movie is basically the title being the green room out the back of the stage where the band hangs before they go play, and where they basically hold themselves up to stay safe from these Nazis that all basically want them dead, and you have this insane standoff between the band members Aintrites and Darcy, who we haven't really spoken about yet, who's the main head guy, played by of all people Patrick Stewart. And the tension, it was Hitchcockian in how it was so simplistic. It was just back and forthing, a bit of haggling almost over, to give this gun away or keep the bullets or not. And then just when you finally think that maybe something might be okay, they just rip the rug out from under you.
That was, yeah. They set it up, and they give you little hints about what's going to happen. And they set up the fact that like the soldiers in this within the neo-Nazis are the red laces. Yeah. And it's something that like people aspire to, because Gabe wants to become it. Which actually I was surprised that I thought he was a lot higher up than he was.
Yeah.
Until Darcy was like, oh, you've earned these, sort of thing. But yeah, like the soldiers, sort of like the heavy hitters are the red laces, and that was the signifier of shit is going to go down. Like when Imogen Poots' character Amber is checking out when they're making that sort of exchange, because they have a gun, and it's Patrick Stewart does downplay himself.
Yeah, which I think is part of the
terror,
charm of it. Well, the charm and the terror of it, and I think he might have been cast with I think they would have assumed that people knew who he was and like what he usually played and what he was usually good at, and so you are able to bring this notion of real gravitas and authority and everything like that, and a sense of power that you've seen him portray in theatre, film, and television and everything like that, but then completely underplay it and turn all of those characteristics, which in so many and most of the movies he's in are usually forces of good, and to basically have the perception of Patrick Stewart as an actor utterly perverted by, this movie, I think, is one of the great powers of having him as the character, because you straight up don't know what he's capable of.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's another example of this film taking something that and flipping it on its head, or delivering it to you in a new way.
It kind of harkens back to that old Grindhouse movie tradition, where these films would have a pretty small budget, and they'd have enough to bring some well-known name actor on set for a day to smash through like a bunch of scenes playing the big bad, and then they're gone. And it was all about that subversion of audience expectation, about being drawn in, thinking they're going to watch this hero, in another movie, and it turns out that they're the exact opposite. And you get this visceral sense of surprise and pleasure, pleasure's the wrong word, but it kind of like
it's stimulating.
It's a cathartic experience, not knowing, what might happen.
Yeah. And it's like, some of the things that, Stuart was saying, some of the lines and all of that, it really took me back. It was like, oh shit, this is Patrick Stewart saying these things. And like,
this is Jean-Luc Picard.
Yeah. Like this is not right. I love it. Yeah.
This guy's saved the galaxy more times than I can count. And he's done so much for mutant rights. And now here he is.
Well, he's condemning all rights.
Yeah. I mean, good thing Magneto didn't see him, because he'd have something to say about Nazis.
Absolutely. I want to go back to the point you made about like the characters being so fleshed out and them being so thought out. So the girl who gets killed off, Emily, and then the cousin of the interviewer. Halfway through the film, they come in after a lot of people have So I guess we need to back up a bit and go. People die real quick in this, in real gruesome ways.
It's It's I guess it's one of the limits of the podcast format, that any sort of attempts we could possibly make to explain.
No, you should have watched this film, people.
What actually happened. I mean, I can think of no better advertisement than this. There is nothing that I can possibly say that can adequately describe exactly the shit that goes on in this movie, in terms of just the most remorseless displays of violence I've ever seen.
Like remorseless, like violence and gore, and I was feeling real uncomfortable.
It's quick and it's brutal and it's earned. That's the thing.
Yes,
it's not exploitative.
Yeah,
and that's what makes it hard to watch.
It's really hard to watch. You bring in a dog and all of that, and Jesus Christ, people, go see this film. Yeah. It is insane. But yeah, so like,
but just as you say, yeah, they have that they make that attempt to, all right, let's just, they do the standard, sheltered, teen in a haunted house thing of grabbing some weapons, and they're going to fight their way out.
Do it,
and it's a non-starter.
Yeah, and it goes back and forth into the green room.
Yeah, every attempt to leave is thwarted before it even starts, and every single time someone dies, there is a actual pound of flesh cost for every mistake that these kids make. And
it's honest mistake sort of thing, it's the bravado of one character of I believe it's Reese, played by Joe Cole. He's the macho man of the group and all of that, and of course he gets knocked down a peg in a real sudden manner, and it is, and even the bravado of Big Justin, that gets changed real quick.
Exactly.
And real mercilessly.
And
it's
a kind of, it's the mercilessness of it, I think. And we sort of, I don't know, maybe we're sort of like harping on about this a lot, but it's just such a refreshing look at how a movie like this can be made and what it can actually say about the nature of violence and about, how we react in these circumstances. I mean, the thing about it all is like these kids are like terrified, and not in like the schlocky Friday the 13th.
They are shaken.
Halloween type way. This is proper PTSD shit. This guy that that basically Joe Cole Reese, who plays the macho, grandstander, chokes, Big Justin, everything,
guy, yeah,
and everything like that. But like, it just even over the course of him doing that, you see his stomach turn. You see him lose the taste for it, almost straight away. Anton Yelchin negotiating, in tears the entire time, just terrified. I can't love this movie enough. It's just such a refreshing.
What's really good about it is that, so you've got like the four band members. You've got the four band members, and then you've got Imogen Poots' character Amber, who basically
might be a Nazi.
Well, she is a villain. Like, she is a villain who in this film has been put into the situation where she is a protagonist, because she does a lot of the heinous shit. She racks up a kill count.
Yeah,
I think far more. Like, there is the dog, and then there's her. Those are the two people with the highest kill counts.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually true. I hadn't thought of it like that. And I mean, we've seen her sort of, do some hard movies before. I mean, 28 Weeks Later, and Centurion as well with Michael Fassbender. But I don't think we've ever seen her just bring the rain as this hard hitting, merciless woman willing to do what it takes when the guys kind of won't.
Yeah. And she is doing it. Oh, actually, her and Shawkat, they both do stand up in those moments.
Yeah.
And it's just, her best. So Amber's friend, Imogen Poots' best friend has died. She's shaken when you first meet her. So it does look like she is the damsel in distress sort of thing. That's how she's established. And they turn that around pretty quickly. They
pretty damn fast. I'm sure I've seen someone get disemboweled in a film before, but I don't know if I've ever actually just
like a zipper, like a goddamn zipper
with that box cutter. I think it's just like and we're going to talk about violence in this film a lot because it is the prime motivating force in terms of the theme of what this movie kind of is about, in terms of the relentless hatred of the Nazis in this, or neo-Nazis, in this movie. And I mean, you could argue that they're representative of ideology in general as well. I mean, the movie seems to make a pretty strong case that extreme violence is the only recourse to dealing with these types of people. Well, there's no point negotiating, and they prove quite quickly that negotiating with these people just ends in absolute bloodshed. They try to, just do half measures, choke Big Justin out, and they think they've done it. And the movie says, no, that's not enough.
Well, it starts,
and he comes back, and then you know, uh, Poots' character just takes the box cutter and
Slices him
eviscerates this
up.
guy from belly to tits, and that's it.
Well, okay, so it starts off. So that sort of theme starts off with Shawkat's character saying about the deceased girl. Oh, maybe she's not dead. There's no blood. She's got a knife in her head. In her skull, pretty deep. It's like, oh, there's no blood. There's no blood. There's none of that. So the guy who killed her grabs the body, drags it, and then pulls out the knife. Then there's the blood.
Yeah.
And it's like, there wasn't any blood because there wasn't the goddamn knife out. This is the sort of film that you are getting yourselves into. This is This is the story that you're in now, kids. This ain't goddamn Neverland anymore.
Nope.
Yeah, before we went off and we started talking about the violence and all of that with it, which kind of, so there is the back and forth of trying to get out of the green room, going back into the green room. There are less people in that room than when they left it. So there is that happens, and you kind of get like about 3/4 of the way through, you're like, how is this film going to last any longer? And then you establish the storyline of Daniel and Emily, so the dead girl and the cousin of the interviewer. And then once again, they've got a fleshed out story, and they've got their own goals within it.
Without ever really, being
it's not a big
articulated
thing
by the film, but it's just there and it's already fully formed.
Yeah, it's there, and it fits perfectly into this. They're going to elope. Basically, they're getting out of the basically a cult.
Yeah.
They're getting out of it, and the subtle clues. Daniel's not at the he's not at the bar at the moment because he's warming the car up because he's getting out.
Yeah.
He's getting out when Flesh Dog plays.
Exactly.
So they're getting. So there's that. It's very subtle things.
And a nice little turn by Mark Webber.
Yeah.
As Daniel, who I haven't actually seen in a movie since Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Absolutely, yeah. And he is. I like him as an actor. I don't you don't see him in too many things, but I like him.
Yeah.
And you kind of saw him. You kind of saw him in this, and the same goes with Big Justin. You see him in a lot of things. Pretty sure I've seen Gabe in a lot of things as well. Like they've cropped up. They crop up, and I thought Mark Webber would just be another one of just like, oh yeah, it's just a small part sort of thing. He's just at the. He's just seen around. He's just the cousin, and they bring him in, and it's like, and he's got a bigger meaning to the plot. Well, to a plot, not necessarily the plot of this film, though it does intertwine with it. And the once again, it's the end of another plot, another movie being ended in this film. Which is
in terms of him, basically turning sides,
basically, yeah,
and deciding to help the kids. And again, the movie, beautifully sweeps away expectations by basically, 5 minutes after this guy turns coat, and he's getting ready to announce his big plan on how they're going to get out and what they're going to do.
Yeah.
He gets absolutely blown away, quite literally.
Yeah, and that is a very Tarantino sort of thing. It's like setting it up, bam.
It's also very in keeping with like the ethos that Saulnier seems to be actually, espousing in this movie, where he says, "I don't give a shit if this Nazi turned coat.
One's redeemable.
There is no way, they are going to be saved by Nazis." That's not what this story is going to be, and there's no way this guy gets to, come out and be a hero. I
don't think anyone comes out to be a hero.
Yeah, these choices have consequences.
And really, really, no. If they were going to fully realize that, Imogen Poots' character probably shouldn't have survived.
Mm.
She was the one person that, I guess she was ambiguous. Like she wasn't. I think she did state that she wasn't a Nazi or she wasn't one of them.
Just one of those girls that kind of just hung around because she thought it was cool.
A groupie who was selling drugs.
Basically.
Yeah. You know, she was doing that sort of thing. And then I guess, you know, it's, very much the same of what biker gangs do. You know, they've got the old ladies that kind of hang around, but they're never part of the gang.
Yeah, they're never privy to the, inside secrets or anything like that.
To men's business.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I guess it's that loophole of like, she's kind of like, she's a villain. Like she's not a good person.
No, and some of the stuff that she does in this movie kind of, puts paid any notions of, redeemable grandeur or anything like that. I mean, using your best mate's body as a fucking bullet magnet decoy.
Yeah.
There's a lack of
just to count down the shots.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and
there's a brutal pragmatism to her character, which, I don't know if that's what, Saulnier is saying in terms of the fact that she comes out of this the least injured and the least.
Well, yeah, she gets shot up a bit in the leg, but she doesn't get her arm hacked up.
Carved up like a fucking Sunday roast.
Oh,
yeah. Every time I think of that.
Oh, man.
That's just heinous. I can't. Shit.
Oh, it's so bad.
Man.
But at the same time, she is she is the one that gets things done.
Yeah.
They set up that, Pat's going to be, he's got the machete and all of that, and he's going to have his heroic moment where he's going to take out the, one of the red laces with the machete and all of that because he doesn't have any shotgun shells anymore. So it's, it's an even match sort of thing, a trained basically killer against this punk rock guitarist. So it's just, and it's like, no, he's not going to do anything. He's still he's a fish out of water in this. You have to understand that he does not belong here. This is not his world, but it is Imogen Poots' world.
Yeah.
And she plays it well. She's the one who sorts out, she's the one that, makes the plans that, come together. She's the one that, gets the job done when no one else is going to do the dirty work.
I think she survives the best because she thinks the least of everyone in this movie. The band or the kids in the band, the Ain't Rights, they still have this fundamentally flawed notion that they can possibly appeal to logic or the inherent goodness of these people that diplomatic and kindly
words will fix this.
She scoffs entirely at any notions they have of actually trying to get out of this. She's like, look, we're probably all going to die, and it's because she has nothing but contempt for these people and holds their lives in such low regard that she actually comes out all right.
Yeah, and she still just doesn't care. It's not like she's ever, this isn't a George Clooney film where she's a bad person that becomes slightly better after a series of events. No, she's still the same person. This doesn't change her.
Well, I mean, that last line of the movie, we have this wonderful little through line of the bands all having their desert island band that they'd, one band that they could bring with them. And in the interview, they all list the standard, or expected, punk rock influences. And then later on in the movie, when they're finally going to like go do or die, they actually list their real favorites, which are decidedly non-punk. And, you know, Anton's character, Pat, you know, he
Can't think of
for
one.
some reason just can't think of one for whatever reason. And then at the last, you know, he suddenly realizes that he's worked it out, and she doesn't give a shit. She says, "Tell someone who gives a fuck." That's the end of the movie.
And it just ends. It's so good because
it's
the end note is like you're waiting for you're not waiting for it, but like you expect like narratively, that payoff's going to happen because he's said that he doesn't know for so long. And it's just like, you know, you're not getting that. You're still not getting it.
It's kind of like that, you know, notion of like, you know, him like discovering or thinking like what his desert island band would be kind of seems to work in unison with like him coming to terms with being brave and, you know, being, you know, a stronger version of himself and everything like that. And so him coming to the end of, you know, the confrontation with, you know, Darcy and everything like that in the field and with his dead friends, like, you know, 5 meters away from him, he wants to have this epiphany. He wants to have this like grand, like, you know, eureka moment that makes somehow everything that's happened worth it. And that's why I think like Poots is the voice of Saulnier, where she's like, "Are you kidding? Who the fuck gives a shit that you've learned something? Everyone's dead. Nothing changed. This is not a victory."
Yeah, you're really worse for wear, buddy.
Yeah.
These
probably going to die of blood loss. Your mates are dead. You have murdered several people.
Yeah, that's not going to be easy for you. You're fucked.
Yeah.
If the cops don't get you, the PTSD will.
Yeah. I just love, like, you know, there's a deliberate vagueness to like certain parts of the film in terms of like it doesn't delve into things more than necessary. And in terms of the machinations that Darcy and his men go through in the back, like you kind of understand in theory what they're trying to do, but they never really sort of go into detail. Like he throws out lines like, you know, later for time of death is better. And, you know, forensic doesn't matter anymore. And you're just like, why? Why those things? Why doesn't it matter anymore? And, you know, it's just, it kind of just, it makes this sort of an almost like a greater conspiracy than what it is. It makes it like part of a larger sort of, you know, thing, I think. Or I don't know. What do you reckon about that?
No, because, okay, so they say things and they don't explain them, but then they don't say anything in some regards. So, you know, underneath the green room is a drug lab.
Yeah.
That they find. And the band talks about it, but the Nazis never talk about it. They know it's there. They don't need to talk about it. They don't need to play exposition. Like, they're not going to give this film isn't going to spoon feed you like facts or anything like that. It's going to say everything organically, and it's going to be natural. And if it's not in there.
Yeah, it'll tell you what you need to know and nothing more.
Yeah.
Which is right, because it keeps you on the same level of ignorance as the, you know, band.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Because you quite literally don't know. You know, in so many of these movies, you'll have the bad guys, you know, monologue, you know, a page and a half of exposition about what they're going to do. So, you know, they build tension by you knowing something that the main characters don't, whereas this movie has basically decided to throw you in the same boat, and so you don't know either, and so you discover at the exact same moment that they do, and that's what makes it visceral.
Yeah. It's really well written in that regards, that it doesn't treat you like you need to know everything to enjoy a film. You can have questions after. Like you could have said, you know, you could have had like flashbacks of Daniel and Emily, you know, getting ready to like get out of there, or more about like what exactly, Emily and Amber were doing in there, what their relationship was in that. Like, were they actually friends, or they were just two of the girls there that had joined up together because they were the only girls there? Like,
and how do they get found out?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, how did that? Yeah, what led to the murder? You don't know that. Like, do you actually find that out? I'm pretty sure you don't.
I think only in the sense that they knew that she was going to run away.
So, but only her.
Yeah,
not about Daniel.
They didn't know that Daniel was involved, but that's it.
Because it was the band that killed. It was the headlining band that killed her, and they seemed like they weren't directly affiliated with the group. That they were a band. They were a Nazi band that traveled around. Like that's what it seemed like. Once again, we don't get those answers. Like it doesn't matter. Like
it's just window dressing.
Yeah, it's just listen, this happened. You're going to see the repercussions of it. That's it. Don't expect anything else.
And you really don't get who Darcy is.
Nah, he owns the place. Maybe
he owns the place. He's somehow in charge.
Yeah, there's a guy.
That's it. That's all you know.
Yeah, there's a guy who does the books, but he also has all these dogs as well. Is he connected? Is he directly connected with her, or is he not? It's like, you don't know. He's got dogs, and the dogs are going to do stuff.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know, right? And, a lesser film would have, would have put in an epilogue with the police.
Yeah.
To kind of like
where are they
wrap
now,
it up,
sort of thing. Yeah.
To wrap it up and be like, do something else. Have.
And I'm so glad they didn't.
Oh, and they could have. They've got Gabe there. To be that sort of the chorus talking about
to witness and comment on everything and and then he gets his redemption moment. And that's of turning himself into the police.
And I think that's just because he's the teacher's pet. That may be the only reason why.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. He does want like a resolution. Like he seems like he wanted a peaceful resolution, and he wanted to sort this out.
Yeah.
But he also knew what he was in. And this is going to happen.
He wasn't ignorant of what was going on. But
and he did.
He was still culpable.
And he did say, I want to go to prison. Which that may not work out for him. There's a fair amount of Nazis in prison.
And
that's the white gang.
Yeah, and a whole bunch of people that aren't Nazis.
This is true.
That whole rising black population in prisons?
Yeah. There's something about that. It just keeps going up and up and up. Proportionate of any others.
Strange that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost like they don't want a specific portion of the population capable of voting in any meaningful election.
Or doing anything in a meaningful way.
Holding down jobs or facilitating any kind of social change. Nah, probably nothing.
Well, back to the Nazis. I really like this is a good film. And, before we started recording, I said, Creed is a good film as well. But Creed, you could as you're watching it, you understood and could digest it, that it was a good film. In this,
and you sort of you knew where it was going as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you
knew what the beats would be. You didn't know exactly how they'd get from A to B, but you knew what the main story beats of the film needed to be.
Yeah, whereas with Green Room, it is a really good film. But it just you don't have time to process it. You got to strap yourself in, and you got to deal with it. You got to deal with this film.
It is an experience in that sense, and it's kind of I mean, gosh, I mean, like, look, I saw it on my own.
Yeah, I was on my own too.
I think I need to. I'd like to go back and see it again, but I think I'd absolutely need to like bring like some people with me. I can't. I don't think I could do it again on my own.
Don't take a date to this film.
Unless she's into some really hinky shit.
Yeah,
in which case,
don't do a first date.
Well in.
Don't do a first date. Probably. You should have had sex at least 5 times.
Feel her out first. Feel her out.
You need to have sex 5 times, I would say, because that way you're starting to understand each other. Is that the official mandated number? Yep. Episode 5. If you're going to take a date to this film, you need to have sex with them at least 5 times.
5 times, or 2 hand jobs and 1 rubbing through the clothes equals add it up however you think.
You don't know the other person from that. That's a purely one-sided sort of transaction. You need to know a person from that. You need to know what gets them going.
I'm not prejudicing our homosexual listeners, who could easily jerk each other off in synchronization.
I'd
say that's a pretty intimate act.
Good point. I thought, no. Okay, you got me there. I was thinking of a purely heteronormative situation. So that's on me. That's on me.
There you are.
We're learning on air.
We're laughing and learning together.
Yeah. Okay.
And let it never be said that this is not a socially progressive channel.
Yeah. So I think you need to be very intimate with the person if you're going to go see this with them, or someone that you don't give a flying fuck about, that you just want them there. Just do the Imogen Poots way of doing things, and just don't give a fuck about this person, and then you go.
Maybe you want to break up with them. This seems like a very good way. You can say, "Did you see Anton Yelchin's arm? That's our relationship."
Wow.
And you can wrap it with all the gaff tape you want, but eventually that relationship's still going to die from blood loss.
So we got to sort that out. Pronto. I guess it would take the uneasiness out of a breakup.
I mean, that's a pretty definitive way of saying, yeah, I think we're through.
Well, there you go. So it could be.
There we are.
It could bring you. This movie could bring you closer as a couple. Or it could be the final nail in the coffin.
In the coffin.
But it is you can still see this film on your own. Absolutely. We both did it.
We both did it, and we're both still
we had to see it because
I mean, I guess
part
we're
of this. And there's nothing going on.
No. Sorry, I had a moment.
Just thinking about the young man. Young man and the dog.
Yeah.
Oh man.
His throat looked like a focaccia.
Oh man. Like a beetroot focaccia.
Jesus Christ.
God, it was
shredded
so
beetroot.
So brutal. It was just the brutality of the brutality of this film is well earned.
It's again I'm going to say it's not exploitative.
No, it's not.
Every beat is earned. This is a dramatically tight and gloriously done movie that just written and shot beautifully. I mean, Saulnier is a cinematographer. He didn't shoot this one, but he did shoot Blue Ruin, his previous film. So, I mean, which was a gorgeous film. He has an eye. He knows what he wants, and I'm frankly just super excited to see what his next offering after this is going to be, and what color is going to be in the title.
Yeah. Yeah, you had blue, then green.
Blue Ruin, Green Room,
So
Red Sofa.
I was going to say, Marvel's going to pick him up. They're going to do a solo Red Skull film.
Oh, God.
Hugo Weaving's coming back.
Jesus. Or DC will pick him up. Although he's already done Green,
Yeah.
they could get him to do Green Lantern.
Well, they could combat to Black Panther coming out and do Black Thunder.
Oh, yeah.
Really, he should get some more screen time.
Or get him to direct the Shazam movie.
Someone's got to do that.
I mean, it's got Black Adam. It's got Black Adam in it.
Hey,
I mean, it wouldn't be called Black Adam, but basically, all I can possibly say at this point as a notion of recommendation is that look, no matter what your next piece of work is, Jeremy, it couldn't hurt to have Scoot in it.
Never hurt to have Scoot in your films.
Scoot McNairy.
It didn't hurt Batman versus Superman. It
helped.
It helped it. It goddamn helped it.
Didn't hurt Gone Girl. It helped it. Didn't hurt Argo. It helped it.
The man is gold. Put him in your films.
Knows what needs to be done. Put him in your films.
Put it in your advertising too. He needs that money. That $1 million shoot thing. He goddamn deserves it.
He deserves everything that he's got coming for him.
Absolutely.
He's a god among men, and I won't have anyone say anything different. And Scoot, if you're listening, I'm kind of running low on cash. Could you help me out?
Scoot, you don't need to, dude.
Look, but,
we know you listen.
I just know that I know that you're a good guy. So
damn good guy. While we were talking about Scoot, I did pull up that Sean Porter was the cinematographer for this film. He did Kumiko, the Treasure Hunter, which was quite a fine film.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was good. He's been in a bunch of like short films and all of that. He doesn't done a lot because Kumiko was only in 2014.
Yeah.
So he's done a lot of shorts, but he's done another person to watch.
Absolutely, I think this is an entire. There's a lot of people in this cast that are cast and crew that are worth watching. I mean, Saulnier we can speak about forever, and indeed kind of have already amount. This is a guy that can quite literally go nowhere except up. I mean, Macon Blair, as Gabe, he's been around for ages, but
I reckon a Star Wars film. We're going to see him in something like that.
You reckon?
I reckon a Star Wars. I reckon it's a lot of these people are going to end up within the Disney empire. Because
all the Anton Yelchin's already been in Star Trek.
Yeah, so there you go. So you got that one.
He's been
correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So
he's also been in the second worst Terminator movie.
Well, wait. Are we talking about Genesis? How do you rank them?
I think Genesis is worse than Salvation.
See, I never saw Genesis, and I only saw about 45 minutes of Salvation. I think it was the middle of it.
I mean, yes. Look, I mean, Salvation was a bad movie, but at least it was trying to do something different with the property instead of just another, this is in the modern day, send some shit back to save some other shit from stuff happening that has already happened, but, will happen again, except that won't. I mean, Genesis was terrible because it was just 2+ hours of retconning and time travel and fan service and bad effects and Arnie who isn't good at acting anymore, and it reeked from top to bottom.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, Arnold certainly isn't a Sylvester.
No,
He's not a good actor.
no, he's not.
Yeah, I think True Lies was the best acting we've seen him do.
Mm.
I'll stand by that one. I think we've run a course with this one.
I think we kind of have. So before we, wrap things up, we've talked about this film in general, and if you haven't already seen it, fair listeners, I hope this discussion has certainly piqued your interest, even if it has kind of spoiled most of the major plot points. I hope it
I don't think
makes
it
you interested.
ruins anything.
No, I don't think. Yeah.
Well, okay. So actually, looking because I watched because I was posting up on social media because I had seen the film and then I was posting something up on our Facebook page, which you all should go and like. And I was checking out the trailers for it, and the most recent trailer that came up had a lot of the beats of the entire film in it. Like it was showing off a lot of it.
Which I guess is the point that we basically been making for this entire chat is that it's not the story of the movie so much as exactly how the story is executed.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. It is masterfully done for a director of only three big films. He's done well. They're small films, but they're still much bigger than anything he's done before, and they're just I've not seen the previous two, but this one is fantastic, and it shows a master of his craft, and I hope that we see him go even more than what he is.
Yeah,
because only good things.
Stay the course, write his own shit. Don't get conned into salvaging some brand new sanitized blockbuster property. We've got enough great minds being poached for that every day of the week that we don't need another one. There's a guy that I really like whose work is excellent and unflinching in the way that it looks at the human condition, and I want this guy making movies that comment on that for a good many years to come.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. He is. I want to see stuff like Only Lovers Left Behind from him, as he's getting on, in that sort of caliber of film that is talking about the human condition.
Yeah, I want to see him maybe sure, go more grandiose, but go grandiose Paul Thomas Anderson style.
Yeah, don't do the monsters to Godzilla.
Yeah.
And maybe Rogue One. We don't know how that's in trouble at the moment.
Well, they say so. It's difficult to look at these things and find out exactly what. All these movies have reshoots and everything like that, and I'm sure they were always planned, but it's just whether the reason for the reshoots is benign or actually far more serious than what they want to be letting on. I guess time will only tell.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so next week we're back to our regular scheduling with Big Short. We're going to be doing that. We were thinking about doing something new and recent again, and Money Monster has come out.
It actually just came out on Thursday.
Yeah, and we thought maybe we'd do that, but at the same time, Big Short seems to tackle a lot of what is going to go on in that film, and I would say, judging by the reviews that we've both read, Big Short does it a lot better. So
I think because it, I guess if I had to sort of announce what I saw as the difference, just in terms of the promotional material for Money Monster, and having seen Big Short last year for the when it came out in cinemas, and obviously we'll revisit it again before we chat next week. But I think the difference is in terms of the handling of the material, in the sense that Money Monster uses the financial industry basically as a prop or a setting, as an excuse to tell a story, whereas Big Short actually really, quite intricately for a big budget film, tackles head on and in quite an exquisite amount of detail exactly, where things went wrong and how they went wrong.
In a very unique way for a Hollywood film,
as only I think Adam McKay could have done as the director, which we can talk about more next week. This very, very strange marriage of material and director, given his past history.
Absolutely, yeah. We got
basically
a lot to talk about with this, and it's I'm very glad we got to do Green Room. As we've said, go see it, people. This is a good film, and your money will be well spent going to see it.
Agreed.
Yeah. But so next week, get onto Big Short, and join us for that as we discuss it, and everything to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
As always, you can go to fromthesilverscreen.com. All of our social media links are there. That's pretty much it. So thank you for listening, everyone, and
thank you.
See
indeed.
you next week.
Yeah.